Please, he choked, the sound ripped from his throat, a jagged edge of agony and disbelief. Ilara, they said you could. He collapsed against the doorframe of my small cabin, the wood shuddering under his weight. Rain hammered the shingles above, plastering his black hair to his skull. But it wasn't the storm that made his massive shoulders tremble. It wasn't just rain soaking the front of his torn leather jacket. It was blood. Dark, sluggish, and carrying the metallic tang of silver-laced poison, a scent so sharp it cut through the smell of the wet earth. This was Alpha Kalen, the most powerful wolf in 5 territories, the shadow of Stonecrest, the man who had shattered my world, and he was dying on my welcome mat. Wait, before the next revelation unfolds, if this mystery has already captivated you, let us know where you're following this story from, to ensure you don't miss unexpected claims, broken bonds, or awakenings under the moon. Subscribe and stay close. Now, back to the scene. My breath hitched, stolen by the ghost of a bond I'd spent 5 years trying to bury. My own wolf, Lyra, a creature I kept starved and silent in the back of my mind, was screaming, a primal howl of recognition and terror. Mate, he is here. He is hurt. Help him. Help him now. I clamped down on the instinct, my fingers gripping the smooth stone mortar and pestle in my hands so tightly my knuckles turned white, the lavender dust inside static. The scent of drying herbs in my clinic, rosemary for memory, willow bark for pain, yarrow for wounds, was suddenly violently overwhelmed by his scent, pine, winter frost, and the sharp, coppery stench of his rapidly failing life. 2 other wolves, his personal guard, materialized from the storm, their forms shifting from massive wolves to men in an instant. They were soaked and terrified, their normally dominant alpha scent warped into a submissive plea in the face of my stillness. The larger one, his beta, Jonas, I recognized. He stepped forward, his hands raised, palms out, mud and blood on his face. "Please, Mistress Ilara," he begged, using the formal title the Borderland rogues and Omegas used for me. He didn't recognize me. Of course he didn't. The girl Kalen had rejected was 17, rail-thin, all sharp bones and terrified eyes, broken by a public humiliation. The woman standing before him was 22, hardened by 5 years of exile, her frame filled out with a survivor's strength and veiled in the quiet power of her craft. "He was ambushed at the treaty signing with the Onyx Fang," Jonas rushed to explain, his voice cracking, the words tumbling out in a torrent of panic. "It wasn't a blade. It was an injector dart, silver nitrate and shadow weaver venom. It's dissolving his wolf, Ilara. It's unmaking him from the inside. The pack healers can't stop it. They said it's irreversible." "Then why are you here?" I asked, my voice terrifyingly calm, a stark contrast to the storm raging inside me. I could feel the poison from here, a cold, dark thrum in the air. It was an anti-magic, a corrosive force designed specifically to sever the sacred link between a shifter and his beast, to turn their own strength against them. "He wouldn't let them try," Jonas said, casting a desperate look back at his alpha, who had slumped into a heap of wet leather and agonizing, shuddering pain. "He woke up screaming. He fought them off, broke a healer's arm. He just kept saying your name. Find Ilara, only Ilara. He's been tracking you for a year, mistress. We didn't know why. We thought it was a madness from the rejection. But he knew. He said you were the only one who could. Please, the Alpha of Stonecrest is begging you." The irony was so bitter, it almost made me laugh. Begging. My mind flashed back, an unwelcome phantom limb of memory, as sharp and clear as if it were yesterday. The great hall of Stonecrest, lit by the full moon streaming through the high windows, the air thick with the scent of pine resin and old stone. I was 17, my heart so full of hope it felt like it would burst from my chest. The moon goddess had chosen me, an Omega-born herbalist's daughter, to be the mate of the new, formidable Alpha Kalen. I had walked forward, my thin white ceremony dress trembling, my hands clammy. He stood on the dais, carved from granite and fury, his power a physical weight in the hall that pressed me down. He looked at me, just looked. His eyes, the color of a winter sky, held no warmth. They held only ice. He'd let the silence stretch, a cruel, calculated pause that amplified every nervous heartbeat in the hall. He let me walk until I was just feet from him, my hand outstretched. Then he spoke, his voice booming with the Alpha command, a sound that didn't just carry, it struck me like a physical blow. I, Kalen of the Stonecrest Pack, reject Ilara of the Ashwood line. The hall gasped as one. My mother cried out, a thin, sharp sound of a heart breaking. I can still hear it in my nightmares. "She is weak," he declared, his gaze sweeping over the crowd, dismissing me, erasing me. "She is unfit. This pack is surrounded by enemies, and the goddess dares to burden me with a liability. I will not have my strength tethered to a trembling fawn. I reject this bond. I reject her." The pain was immediate. It wasn't just emotional, not just shame. It felt like my ribs were cracking, my soul being torn in half. The silver thread of the mate bond, half-formed and gleaming, snapped back like a severed cable, shredding my insides. It felt like dying. I had crumpled to the stone floor, a discarded, broken thing. And he had turned his back, not even flinching, and walked away. Now that same man was bleeding out on my floor. "Bring him in," I said, the words tasting like ash. My wolf surged with a desperate, treacherous relief. "Help him. Save him. Ours. Whole." "He is not ours," I snapped back at her, shoving her down into the dark. "He is a patient, nothing more." Jonas and the other guard, Liam, hauled Kalen inside, his arms thrown over their shoulders. He was dead weight, his boots dragging tracks of mud and blood onto my clean, scrubbed floor. I pointed to the reinforced examination table in the center of my clinic, built of iron and old oak, strong enough to hold a thrashing wolf. "Put him there, then both of you outside, now." "But, Mistress, the Onyx Fang." "Do you want me to save him, or do you want to argue with me?" I snarled, my own voice dropping into a register of command that surprised them and me. "I cannot work with you hovering. Your panic is choking the room. Go, guard the perimeter. If I need you, I will call." Jonas looked at his dying Alpha, then at my cold, set face. He saw the steel in my eyes. He nodded, his expression grim. "As you say, Mistress." They deposited Kalen on the table and retreated, closing the heavy oak door behind them. The click of the latch seemed to amplify the silence. The storm outside seemed to muffle the world, leaving only the sound of Kalen's ragged, wet breathing, a counterpoint to the ticking of the clock on the wall. He was unconscious, his face pale under his tanned skin, etched with lines of pain I had never seen on the arrogant, untouchable Alpha. His jacket was ruined. I took my sharpest shears and cut it from his torso, the thick leather parting, and then cut away the blood and rain-soaked shirt beneath. The wound was on his side, over his ribs. It wasn't a wound at all, not really. It was a puncture mark, small and neat, already healing over. But radiating from it, like black lightning frozen in his flesh, were veins of poison. They were spreading even as I watched, a spiderweb of necrosis crawling up his chest toward his heart. His wolf was fighting. I could feel the thrum of that massive beast, roaring in a cage of its own poisoned flesh, a desperate, fading echo. But it was losing. "You stupid, arrogant fool," I whispered, pulling on my thin leather gloves. "You come here, to me, of all people." I went to my shelves. This wasn't a job for poultices or tinctures, not for willow bark or yarrow. This was magic. The poison was designed to kill an alpha's wolf. It was fast, brutal, and terrifyingly effective. My normal herbs would be like trying to stop a tidal wave with a handful of sand. He needed me, the real me. In the 5 years since my rejection, I had wandered the neutral territories, a broken thing. I'd almost let myself die in that first winter, the pain of the broken bond a chill that no fire could warm. But the goddess I cursed had not abandoned me. My pain, my isolation, my grief, it had awakened something. My grandmother's gift, a bloodline I'd thought long dead, a magic whispered of only in Omega lore. I wasn't just an herbalist. I was a mender, a healer who could manipulate the very life force of shifters, who could see the threads of magic in their blood and weave them back together. My mender magic was silver light. It was the color of the moon itself, and it was the only thing that could fight a poison based on corrupted silver. I placed my hands on my workstation, taking a deep breath, centering myself in the quiet cabin that had become my fortress. "Lyra," I whispered to the wolf in my head, "I need you, but we do this with our eyes open. We save the patient, not the mate. Do you understand?" My wolf whimpered, a long, mournful sound, but she agreed. A soft, pearlescent glow began to build in my palms. It was a quiet power, a hidden strength, born of pain and solitude. The very thing Kalen had looked at and called weak. I walked back to the table. Kalen's breathing was shallowing. The black veins were inches from his heart. "This is going to hurt, Alpha," I murmured, more to myself than to him. I placed my glowing hands on his chest, directly over the radiating poison. The moment my magic touched his skin, he arched off the table with a strangled roar that rattled the glass jars on my shelves. It was like touching fire to ice. His poisoned blood fought me. The corrupted silver screamed as my mender light made contact, a psychic shriek that echoed in my skull. I pushed, gritting my teeth, forcing my magic into his veins. It was like trying to force a river to flow uphill, to force life into a dying dark void. The poison was strong, animate, and vicious. It lashed out, trying to infect me, to turn my own magic sour. "He is not yours. He is a patient." I repeated the mantra, a shield against the past. But the bond, the broken, jagged thing between us, flared to life. It had been dormant, a numb ache for 5 years. Now, with my magic and his life force connecting, it lit up like a severed nerve touched with live wire. I cried out, stumbling back. The pain was blinding. It wasn't just my pain, it was his. I saw it, I felt it all. The 5 years of his emptiness, the hollow victory of a strong pack, the gnawing, agonizing regret, the curse the moon goddess had laid on him for rejecting his true mate. He could never feel a connection to another. He was numb, isolated, alone. I saw him, a year after my rejection, staring at the empty Luna's chair at his table, his face carved from ice, while his wolf howled in his mind. I saw him lashing out at Jonas, his rage hollow. I saw him tracing my faint trail on a map, an obsession he couldn't explain. He had been searching for me, not to apologize, not at first, but because he was slowly dying of loneliness, and he didn't even know why. He just knew he had to find the girl he'd thrown away. He was delirious, his eyes flying open. They were unfocused, glazed with fever, but they found me. "Ilara," he gasped, his hand shooting out, grabbing my wrist. His grip was iron, even on the brink of death. You came." "I didn't come to you," I said, my voice shaking as I tried to pull my arm free. "You came to me." "Doesn't matter," he mumbled, his wolf surfacing, desperate, his eyes rolling back. "You're here. You're real. I'm so cold. Threw away the moon. So cold." The poison was winning again. The black veins were moving, pulsing. "Let go of me, Kalen." "No, never again," he breathed, his eyes sliding shut as he lost consciousness again, but his grip on my wrist remained. I was trapped, tethered to the man who broke me. "Damn you," I whispered, tears of frustration and agony blurring my vision. I couldn't use both hands. I'd have to do it with one, and I'd have to anchor it. I placed my free hand on his chest, and with his cold fingers locked around my other wrist, I pushed my power. I pushed all of it. The silver light of my magic exploded from my hand, diving deep into his chest. I felt his wolf latch onto it, a drowning beast finding air. I was no longer pushing. He was pulling. He was drawing my life force into himself, a desperate, unconscious instinct, using my mender light to burn away the poison. It was intimate. It was agonizing. I felt the poison dissolve, vein by black vein, a sizzling, screaming retreat. And I felt his wolf, his soul, wrap around my magic, acknowledging me, claiming me, even as his human side slept. I saw everything. I saw his father's death, the smell of smoke and rogue fur. I saw the rogue attack that killed his weak mother, a gentle Luna named Seraphina, who he adored. I saw his father's subsequent madness, the pack's near collapse, the whispers of a challenge. I saw the young Kalen, barely 20, standing over his father's grave, swearing an oath. "I will never let a weak mate destroy this pack. I will never be that weak. I will be stone. I will be shadow." And I finally understood. He hadn't just rejected me. He had rejected his own past. He had rejected his father's fate. He saw me, small and gentle, smelling of herbs and not of blood, and he saw a repeat of history. He hadn't been rejecting a mate. He'd been trying to save his pack from a ghost. The poison receded, beaten back, coalescing into a dark, oily sludge around the injection site. My magic had contained it, but it wasn't gone. It was dormant. I collapsed, ripping my wrist from his grasp. The sudden release sent me sprawling. I fell against the wall, my body shaking violently, my energy utterly spent. The silver glow on my hands faded, leaving them feeling cold and numb. I was so tired. I had given him too much. My own life force was dangerously low. Kalen's breathing was deep and even. The color was returning to his face. His wolf was settled, sleeping and healing. He was stable. He was safe. My wolf, Lyra, purred, sated and weak. We saved him. I closed my eyes, sliding down the cold stone wall to sit on the floor. Yes, I thought, bitterness rising in my throat like bile. We saved him. Now, who is going to save us? I must have slept. When I woke, the storm had passed, and the early morning light was filtering through the clinic's high windows, painting dust motes in the air. My body ached, a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that meant I had dipped too far into my own reserves. Every mender has a limit. I had pushed mine, and I was paying the price. My joints felt like rusted iron. A blanket was draped over my shoulders, a thick wool smelling of pine and frost. His scent. I looked up, my heart seizing. Kalen was awake. He was sitting on the edge of the table, his bare feet on the stone floor. He was watching me, his expression unreadable. The arrogance was gone. The desperation was gone. In its place was a quiet, heavy intensity that scared me more than his anger. "You're a mender," he said. It wasn't a question. I pulled the blanket tighter, a fragile shield. "I'm an herbalist." "Don't," he said, his voice quiet but laced with the old alpha command, a sound that made my wolf instinctively want to bare her throat. "Don't lie to me, Alara. Not anymore. I felt it. Your magic. It felt like the moon." I stood up, pushing the blanket away as if it burned. It felt like a trap, a kindness I couldn't afford. "I healed you. The poison is dormant. It's not gone. You'll need to rest. Your beta is outside. You should go." "Go?" He took a step toward me. I instinctively took a step back, my hand flying to the workbench to steady myself. He stopped, the movement freezing him. The look that crossed his face was more painful than his physical wound. It was shame, deep, corrosive shame. "You're afraid of me," he whispered. "I am pragmatic," I corrected him, my voice brittle. I moved to my workbench, turning my back to him. I needed to wash my hands, to busy myself, to not look at him. "You are the alpha of Stonecrest. I am a rogue healer. You have your pack. I have my life. We are not compatible." "Stop talking about packs," he said, his voice rough. He was closer. I hadn't even heard him move. His hand landed on the workbench next to mine, caging me in. I stared at his fingers, long, powerful, scarred. The hand that had pushed me away. "Ilara, look at me." I refused. I stared at the grains of dried rosemary on the wood. "Your pack needs you, Alpha Kalen." "Kalen," he insisted. "My name is Kalen, and I am not leaving. You can't stay here. This is neutral territory. Your presence endangers me. The Onyx Fang will be looking for you. When they find you, they'll find me. I know." His voice was right behind my ear, a warm breath that made me shiver, and I hated myself for it. "I felt your magic. Jonas told me how I got here. I was screaming your name." "How, Alara? How did I even know your name? How did I know you could do that? You're mated to me, you idiot," I snapped, my control finally breaking. I spun around, pushing at his bare chest. It was like pushing a mountain. He didn't budge. Even broken, the bond knew. Your wolf knew. While your human mind was busy calling me weak and unfit, your wolf knew exactly who I was. It's been screaming for me for 5 years. His eyes widened, the winter sky blue darkening. I thought it was grief, a curse from the goddess for what I did. I felt empty since that day. I've been searching. I didn't know why. I just knew I had to find you." "Well, you found me," I said, my voice trembling with 5 years of rage and pain. "And I saved you. So we're even. Now, go." "Even?" He laughed, a short, harsh, agonizing sound. "Even? I publicly humiliated you. I broke our bond. I shattered your life. You left your home, your family. You lost your mother. You lost your name. And you just saved my life? You think that makes us even?" "I don't care about being even," I shouted, poking him in the chest. "I care about being safe, and I am not safe near you." "You're right," he said, his voice dropping, his intensity terrifying, all traces of the patient gone. "You're not, because they didn't just poison me, Alara. They're hunting menders. I heard them talking just before I blacked out. The Onyx Fang Alpha, Malak, his son is dying, a wasting sickness that's rotting his wolf from the inside. They're looking for a mender to cure him. They'll drain you dry and kill you. My blood ran cold. They ambushed me because they thought I knew where one was, Kalen continued, his eyes locked on mine, pinning me in place. They poisoned me with something only a mender could heal. It was a trap, not for me, for you. I stared at him, the implications crashing down on me. My quiet life, my illusion of safety, all of it, gone. They used you as bait. Yes, and I led them right to your door. The weight of his words settled on us. The silence in the cabin was heavy, broken only by the drip of water from the roof. "Jonas!" Kalen roared, his alpha voice shaking the glass jars on my shelves, making the dried herbs tremble. The door burst open. Jonas and Liam piled in, weapons drawn. "Alpha, are you?" "We're exposed," Kalen said, ignoring their shock at seeing him on his feet, alive and vital. He began grabbing his ruined, still damp clothes. "The Onyx Fang set a trap. They know she's here. We're leaving, now." "Leaving?" I said, finding my voice. "I am not going anywhere. This is my home." "It's a tomb," Kalen retorted, pulling his boots on with a painful grunt. "They'll be here by nightfall, and they'll come in force. You're coming with us." "I am not." I planted my feet. "I will not be dragged back to Stonecrest. I am not your prisoner." He finished with his boot and stood up, towering over me. The arrogant alpha was back, but his eyes were different. They were desperate. "You can come as my guest," he said, his voice low, "or I can throw you over my shoulder. But you are not staying here to be tortured and killed by the Fang. I just got you back. I am not losing you." "Got me back?" I shrieked, my voice cracking with disbelief. "You rejected me! You don't have me!" The air crackled. Lyra was furious, roaring in my head. "He is trying to protect us. He is right. He is trying to control us," I roared back. "Jonas," Kalen said, his voice dangerously soft. "Secure the mistress. We're moving." "Don't you touch me," I warned, my hands lighting up with the silver mender light, a beacon in the dim cabin. Jonas and Liam froze, staring at my glowing palms, their eyes wide with a superstitious fear. Kalen didn't even flinch. He just looked at my hands, his expression softening into something I couldn't name. It looked like wonder, reverence. "Your power, it's beautiful," he murmured. "And you think I called you weak?" He closed his eyes, a spasm of self-loathing crossing his features. "I was a blind, arrogant fool. I saw a gentle spirit and mistook it for fragility. I thought strength was stone, was isolation. I didn't see the steel beneath. I didn't see this, the power to create life itself." He stepped toward my glowing hands, not away. "You can't fight all of them, Alara, but I can. My pack can. Let me protect you. Please." There it was again. Please. The begging. It wasn't just for his life this time. It was for me. "I don't need your protection, Kalen," I whispered, the light in my hands wavering, my resolve cracking. "I know," he said, his voice thick with an emotion I couldn't identify. "But I need to give it. Let me do this. Let me atone. Come back to Stonecrest, not as what I said, but as our healer, our greatest strength. I will tell them all. I will tell them I was wrong." The thought of standing in that great hall again, of facing those faces, it made me sick. "I can't," I whispered. "You can," he said, gently, so gently, closing his hands over my glowing ones. His touch didn't burn. My magic didn't hurt him. It welcomed him. It sang against his skin. The broken bond between us thrummed, a clear, high note of recognition. Ours, Lyra whispered, content, and I felt her metaphorical head rest on his metaphorical feet. Traitor, we have to go, he said, his voice hardening again as he snapped back to the Alpha. They're close. I can smell them on the wind. My senses flared. He was right. The faint, acrid smell of the onyx fang wolves, like burning iron and rotting sulfur. They were coming. I have to pack my grimoire, my mother's herbs. Jonas, Liam, grab whatever she points to. We have 5 minutes. Kalen was already moving, strapping on the spare weapons his guards carried. He looked at me, his eyes hard with the Alpha's drive, but soft with his new fragile hope. I will not let them harm you, Alara. I swear this on my wolf, on my soul. I looked at the man I had hated for 5 years, the man who had broken me, and the man who was now offering to be my shield. I didn't trust him. I didn't love him, but my wolf did. And as the smell of burning iron grew stronger, I knew I had no other choice. 5 minutes, I said, turning to my shelves. Then we run. We didn't make it 2 miles. We were moving fast, a 4-wolf guard protecting me, a human in the center. Kalen, Jonas, and Liam had shifted, their massive wolves flanking me. Kalen's wolf was enormous, a black shadow that dwarfed the other 2, his paws thudding silently on the forest floor. He was still weak. I could see it in the slight tremor in his haunches, but he was all alpha. He kept glancing back, his winter blue eyes, luminous in the dim forest, checking on me every few seconds. I was running, my satchel of grimoires and herbs slamming against my back, my lungs burning, my human legs no match for their wolf speed. Then the howling started, not just 1 or 2, a dozen, a chorus of hungry, desperate animals. They were on us. This way, Jonas's voice, filtered through the pack mind link, was strained. Kalen had, surprisingly, linked me into it. It was a dizzying, intimate sensation, feeling their thoughts, their loyalty, their fear. I felt Kalen's pain, a dull throb from his wound, and his overriding, ferocious, protective rage. Alara, to the cliffs. Kalen's voice was a command that echoed in my bones, and I obeyed without thinking. We burst through the tree line onto a high, rocky promontory. It was a dead end, a sheer drop to a raging whitewater river 100 feet below. The spray misted my face. We were trapped. The onyx fang wolves emerged from the trees, fanning out. They were mangy, their fur matted with burrs and old blood, their ribs showing. Their eyes glowed with a fanatic's light. Their alpha shifted, a tall, gaunt man with a face scarred by ritualistic markings, his skin pulled tight over his skull. His name was Malak. "The Mender," he hissed, his eyes landing on me, black and depthless. He ignored Kalen completely. "You made us run a long chase, little one." Kalen shifted back, his body steaming in the cool air. He stepped in front of me, his body a naked, muscular wall. "You will not touch her, Malak." "Touch her," Malak laughed, a dry, rattling sound, like stones in a gourd. "I'm going to worship her. My son is dying. She is his cure. She is a gift from the goddess. She is my mate," Kalen snarled. The words hit me harder than the rejection. My mate. He was reclaiming me. In front of everyone. In front of his enemies. Malak's smile widened, a death's head grin. His mate? The one he rejected? The one he called weak? The one he cast out like trash? His eyes glittered with malice. "Oh, Stonecrest, you are a fool. You threw away a miracle. And now I will pick it up. Ilara, when I tell you, run, Kalen murmured to me, his body tensed like a spring. Run where, Kalen? Off a cliff, I whispered back, my heart hammering against my ribs. I will make a hole. You run through it. Jonas and Liam will go with you. Get to Stonecrest. They will know what to do. What about you? I am their alpha. I will hold the line. He was planning to die, to sacrifice himself so I could escape. The man who wouldn't be burdened by a liability was now planning to be my shield. No, I said. It's not a request, Ilara. It's an order. And I don't take your orders, Alpha, I snapped. Before he could argue, Malak lunged. The fight was immediate and brutal. Kalen met him, wolf to wolf, a clash of black and gray fur, of teeth and claws. Jonas and Liam took on the others, but it was 12-3. They were being overwhelmed, a tide of diseased fur and snapping jaws. Liam went down, his throat torn out in a spray of crimson. Jonas roared in grief, fighting harder, but 2 wolves were on his back, dragging him to the ground. Kalen was slowing. The poison was still in him. The exertion was activating it. He was powerful, but Malak was fresh, and he was fueled by the desperate, mad strength of a father about to lose his son. Malak's wolves pinned Jonas, their teeth sinking into his shoulders. Malak, seeing his opening, disengaged from Kalen, a blur of motion. He lunged, not for the alpha, but for me. Kalen roared, "No!" He threw himself in front of me, shifting back to his human form to be a larger shield. Malak's claws, extended and sharp, meant for my chest, ripped across Kalen's back. Kalen crumpled, howling in agony. It wasn't just a wound. Malak's claws were tipped with the same silver poison. I smelled it instantly. "Kalen!" I screamed. He was on the ground, shuddering, the black veins already spreading from the 4 massive gashes on his back. The poison was reactivated, supercharging the dormant dose. He was dying, fast. "Foolish," Malak sneered, stalking toward me, wiping Kalen's blood from his claws. "He dies for the woman he threw away. It's poetic." He reached for me, his hand a claw. "Get away from her!" Kalen choked out from the ground, trying to rise, but his limbs wouldn't obey. I looked at Kalen, his blood staining the rock, his life fading. I looked at Jonas, pinned and bleeding. I looked at Malak, his hand just inches from my face. And the fear vanished. It was replaced by a cold, silver rage. Lyra, my weak wolf, rose up, not with a whimper, but with a snarl. He came back for us. He tried to save us. He called us mate. He dies for us, I thought. No, no one else dies for me, ever again. "You want a mender, Malak?" I asked, my voice deadly quiet. He paused, his hand hovering, intrigued by my lack of fear. "You should have been more careful what you wished for." I closed my eyes. I didn't reach for the soft, healing light. I reached for the core of my power, the silver, the moon, the part of me I had been afraid to touch. My grandmother's voice whispered in my memory, "Menders do not just heal, my child. We are the masters of the body. We are the mistresses of life force. We can give life, and we can take it." When I opened my eyes, they were glowing solid silver. Malak stumbled back, his hand flying up to shield his face. What is this?" "I am Ilara of the Ashwood line," I said, my voice echoing with a power I didn't know I possessed. "And I am done running." I raised my hand, palm out toward Kalen. "Kalen," I commanded, "your wolf, give it to me." He was barely conscious, but he heard me. I felt the bond flare. He pushed his pained, poisoned wolf spirit toward me, a desperate act of trust. I didn't heal him. I pulled. I ripped the poison out of him. A scream was torn from my throat as the corrupted silver flooded my arm, a torrent of black, cold, agonizing power. Black veins shot up my skin, racing toward my heart. But my mender magic met it. The silver light of my soul wrapped around the black poison, containing it. It was agony, but I held it. I held the poison in my own body, a captive. Kalen gasped, his wound still there, but the poison was gone. He was breathing. "Now," I whispered, turning my silver eyes to Malak. "You!" "Witch!" he shrieked, finally seeing the threat. "I am a mender," I said. I thrust my other hand out. The wolves holding Jonas were suddenly paralyzed. Their muscles locked, their bodies went stiff, their jaws locked open in silent snarls. They were alive, but they couldn't move. I had taken control of their nervous systems. Jonas scrambled free, staring at me in terror and awe. "Get the Alpha," I ordered him, my voice straining, the poison in my arm burning. "Get him to the river, the water, it will help cleanse the wounds." Jonas, bless his beta heart, didn't hesitate. He grabbed Kalen, threw him over his shoulder, and ran. It was just me and Malak. You're a monster," he breathed, taking a step back. "No," I said, the black veins on my arm pulsing, a visible cage of my own making. "I'm just weak." I opened my hand. The poison I had pulled from Kalen, the silver nitrate and shadow weaver venom, was now mine to command. I hadn't destroyed it, I had weaponized it. I shot it from my palm. It wasn't light, it was a tangible, black, oily dart of magic that flew faster than an arrow. It struck Malak in the chest. He looked down, he looked at me. His eyes were wide with shock. Then he began to scream. The poison, designed to kill an alpha wolf, turned on its master. It was 1,000 times faster, empowered by my own magic. He dissolved from the inside out, his flesh turning to black ash, his bones charring. He collapsed into a pile of ash and poisoned leather, his scream cut short. The other wolves, seeing their alpha destroyed by an unarmed weak Omega, broke. They turned and fled, howling in terror, their paralyzed packmates left behind on the cliff's edge. I stood there, shaking, my arm black to the shoulder. The power receded, the silver in my eyes faded, and the pain hit me. The poison I held was now attacking me. It was burning me from the inside. I collapsed to my knees, gasping, my vision tunneling. "Lyra, it hurts." My wolf was silent. She was fighting the venom, but we weren't an alpha. We weren't strong enough. It was going to kill me. "Ilara!" Kalen was stumbling back up the cliff. He was bleeding, he was weak, but he was running. Jonas was right behind him, trying to support him. He saw me, saw my blackened arm. "What did you do?" he cried, shoving Jonas away and falling to his knees in front of me. "I took it," I gasped, the world spinning into darkness. "Kalen, it hurts." "You took it from me? You poisoned yourself?" His voice was broken. He grabbed my arm. His hands, so strong, were trembling. "No, no, I won't let you. Give it to me. Push it back into me. It'll kill you, for good this time." "I don't care," he growled, his face a mask of desperate resolve. "I will not let you die for me. I am your mate. We share this. The bond." "It's broken, Kalen." I was fading, my voice a whisper. "Then we fix it." He grabbed my face, his winter sky eyes blazing with a power that matched my own. I, Kalen of the Stonecrest Pack, accept Ilara of the Ashwood line. I accept her as my mate, my equal, my strength, my light in the shadow, my missing half, the part of me I was too blind to see. I accept this bond, before the goddess I slighted. I accept her. He didn't wait for an answer. He didn't wait for a ceremony. He crushed his mouth to mine. It was not a gentle kiss. It was a desperate, raw claiming. It was the taste of pine and frost and agonizing regret. It was a plea and a command in one. The half-formed, broken bond between us didn't just heal. It detonated. It slammed into place with the force of a supernova. My magic, his alpha strength, my soul, his wolf. Everything we were slammed together. We both cried out against each other's mouths. I saw her, his mother, Seraphina. He saw him, my father, the herbalist who died of a simple fever I couldn't heal. I saw his 5 years of empty rage. He saw my 5 years of quiet, desperate loneliness. We saw everything. We were one. I felt his strength flood me, a tide of pure alpha power. And he pulled. He used the newly forged, complete, perfect bond, and he pulled the poison from my arm. He took half of it, spreading the load between us. I gasped as the burning receded, the black veins on my arm fading to a pale gray tracery. He grunted, his body shuddering as the venom settled into his blood, matching the new marks on his own skin. But this time, it was different. We were bonded. We were one. The poison was still there, but it was our poison. It was diluted, shared between two souls, held in check by the combined, balanced power of an alpha and a mender. He pulled back, his forehead resting against mine. We were both shaking, both alive. Ilara, he breathed, his voice raw. Kalen, I whispered, my hand coming up to touch the new, shimmering silver mate mark that was glowing on his throat. A matching one was on mine, warm against my skin. I am so sorry, he choked out, the words ripped from the very core of him. I was a fool. I was so wrong. You are everything. You were, I agreed, my voice thick, my own tears finally falling. You were a blind, arrogant fool. I was, he agreed, his eyes closing as he just breathed me in, as if I were air. Jonas appeared at the cliff edge, his face pale, staring at the two of us, at the glowing marks. Alpha? Kalen didn't look away from me. She saved us, Jonas. She saved all of us. I know, Alpha, Jonas said, his voice filled with awe. I saw. Kalen looked at me, a real, true smile finally touching his lips. It transformed his harsh face into something beautiful. Can you stand, my mate? He asked, the word new and heavy on his tongue. I think so. He stood, pulling me up with him. I was weak. He was weak, but we were standing, together. He looped his arm around my waist, holding me against his wounded side. I leaned on him, my arm around his. We were two halves of a whole, holding each other up. Let's go home, he said. The return to Stonecrest was slow. We were a strange sight. The Alpha, his Beta, and their new, blood-soaked Luna. Jonas was reverent, treating me with a new, fragile awe. Kalen was changed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a fierce protectiveness, but also a new, startling deference. He kept touching me, a hand on my arm, fingers brushing my hair, as if to be sure I was real. When we walked into the great hall, the same hall where I had been broken, It was to the stunned silence of the entire pack, gathered for news of their alpha. I was walking at Kalen's side, not behind him. I was covered in blood and dirt, leaning on him for support, just as he leaned on me. The mate marks on our necks were glowing, a silver so bright in the dim hall it was impossible to miss. Kalen didn't go to the Alpha's throne. He stopped in the center of the hall, right on the spot where I had fallen. 5 years ago, he said, his Alpha voice booming, I stood here and committed the greatest sin of my life. I rejected the goddess's gift. I rejected my mate. He turned and looked at me, his eyes holding mine, showing his soul to me and to the entire pack. I called her weak. I was wrong. He told them everything. The onyx fang, the poison, the trap, Malak. He told them how I had saved him in the cabin. He told them how he had been willing to die on that cliff. He told them how I had taken the poison into my own body to save him. And he told them how I had destroyed Malak with a power they had never dreamed of. When he finished, there wasn't a sound. The pack was frozen, their faces a mask of shock, awe, and dawning understanding. Then he did something I never thought I would see. Alpha Kalen, the shadow of Stonecrest, knelt, on one knee, in front of me, in front of everyone. Luna Ilara, he said, his voice thick, you are not just my mate, you are my strength. You are my salvation. I was the weak one, ruled by fear. You are the stone. You are the heart of this pack, and I am begging you, for the third and final time, will you forgive me? Will you lead this pack with me? I looked at this powerful, broken, beautiful man kneeling in his own hall. I saw the boy who had been terrified of repeating his father's mistakes. I saw the Alpha who had been willing to die for me on that cliff. I saw the mate who had shared my poison. My wolf, Lyra, was weeping with joy. Ours, whole, home. I reached out and placed my hand on his head, my fingers tangling in his black hair. Get up, Kalen, I said, my voice soft, but it carried through the silent hall. We have work to do. He looked up, his eyes shining with a relief so profound it stole my breath. He rose, taking my hand and kissing the knuckles. The poison, he murmured, for only me to hear, his thumb tracing the faint, silvery gray network of veins on my arm. It's still in us. I know, I whispered back, lacing my fingers with his. It's a reminder of my failure. No, I said, turning with him to face the stunned faces of his pack, our pack, of your redemption. He brought my hand to his lips, his gaze never leaving mine. He didn't need to say anything else. I didn't need to hear it. I had been the rejected Omega, the weakling, the outcast. Now I was the Luna, I was the mender, and I was his. He had begged me to heal him. In the end, we had healed each other.